Hey, how was the outside world?
It was okay. I went to a little recreation ground to practice my waltzing.
Yeah?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you know.
Yeah. You are getting really good at that. I've
Yeah.
noticed, you've been practicing a lot.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, but I couldn't help noticing all these people in fancy gowns with lace fans heading onto the green.
Oh, I guess you were just in the wrong ballpark. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnetdale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnetdale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast where two queer trans women, that's us, we're wifey types. We talk about media we've consumed in the week, and do silly voices and skits and have a bit of a silly catch-up with each other. How are you doing?
I'm a sleepy little bean.
I'm definitely a sleepy little bean.
Soreness and... You can tell autumn's hit us real hard because I had the daylight lamp on today.
Yep, I had a little 5-minute nap before we recorded this tonight because apparently the summer's gone and my energy's like, goodbye.
Goodbye, sun.
Yeah.
It's time to sleep and eat soup.
Well, at moments other than this, we've been playing things this week.
We have. We've managed to muster the energy to play something.
What have you been playing this week?
I played through all of Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, you have. How'd you find it?
It's more Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, plot's fine, I guess.
There's a big house, there's ghosts in it, Luigi's gotta save the day.
Gotta save the day.
It's a Luigi's Mansion plot. It is what it is.
It feels like more of the same, which I guess is what I wanted, because I played the first one many, many years ago, in the time it took the person who'd bought a copy to drop it off at our place, planning to come back on the way home from work, and we were like, hey, can we play it while you're at work? And they literally walked back through the door as we were seeing the end credits roll.
There's definitely more game in this one.
Yeah, I'd say this probably took about 14 hours.
Yeah, as opposed to the I know 3 to 4 hours you can do the first one.
Yeah. It feels like it does need a little bit more ghost variation.
Yeah.
In the base ghosts, because there's basically 3. There's the blue ones, the yellow ones, the big red ones, and the little pink ones.
Yeah, I
that's
suppose.
Kind of it. Sometimes the blue ones will have different costumes on and stuff like that, but basically that is it. And it may be a little bit more variation there. Obviously there's more in the bosses.
Yeah.
Those are kind of interesting, and having now 100%ed everything else in the main game, went and had a look at... We played a bit of Scare Park and Scare Scraper or whatever it's called.
So these are the two multiplayer modes. Scare Scraper is the co-op time limit, do these things on a time limit, run around a randomized layout.
Yes.
That definitely feels balanced for 4 players, and it doesn't really scale to 2 players very well.
Yeah, definitely. We played for 2 hours and only got off of the first level once.
Yes.
And that felt mostly by luck.
Yeah, it really is incredibly tight if you don't have 4 players.
Yeah.
And I like the general concept, but it needs to scale better, or at least have options for, I'm having fun with this, but I need just 10% longer. But the other mode was a series of little one-on-one minigame type modes. None of them are particularly in-depth, but they're quick little things to play around with.
Yeah, it was alright to play with, and some of them sort of, certainly the one with the rubber rings really was basically what if that boss fight from the game, but it's 2 players against each other instead?
Yeah, you're on little rubber rings, you're using your vacuums to suck yourselves in directions, you're trying to avoid spikes that'll pop your balloon and collect a bunch of coins. There's one that's you're in a graveyard just trying to catch the most ghosts in a short time limit. And what was the other one? Oh, it's load cannonballs into a cannon and fire them at targets.
Yeah. Again, none of these really felt particularly scaled for 2 players.
No, particularly the cannonball one, felt very, very much like you were supposed to have multiple players, and it didn't really change the design for 2.
Yeah, it didn't seem terribly well scaled. I know they're you can play up to 16, because you can have 8 Luigis and 8 Guigis and stuff. on that sort of player versus player or team versus team mode, and yeah, it definitely isn't designed for the lower end, really.
The multiplayer was, like, not a bad time, but it wasn't scaled for 2-player, and, like, it wasn't anything amazing.
Yeah, like, I think so I would have really got into Scare-Scraper if it had been, like, better done for that many levels, because the idea of just, like, randomly creating those rooms that link together, like, even just a little bit more time, or slightly less ghosts.
Yeah, either way, I would have really enjoyed that, I think.
Yeah. Or even, like, put them in less rooms.
Yeah.
Because, especially when you've got, like, a large map layout, and then it's like, you've got 60 ghosts to get through, it's like, okay, I'll do my best. So, yeah, I didn't really feel like we got the most of that, and especially when the whole, like, rare ghosts, like, they only appear when you're playing Scare-Scraper in 10 levels or above, and it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to bother with those, but I have 100%ed everything else, I got all the gems.
Yeah.
Did everything else. I didn't get an S rank because I couldn't be asked. I basically felt like the game generally quite simple, quite good, quite fun, suitable for, like a younger audience. And then those last two bosses are like, fuck you!
Yeah, it does ramp up quite steeply.
And it's not even like you can grind to improve anything. You can't get any of the power-ups that you get from Scare-Scraper.
Just get good.
Just get good.
I remember Luigi's Mansion 3 very fondly, mainly because I remember the animations being gorgeous, in terms of, like, the lovely exaggerated facial expressions, the textures and stuff, and yeah, I came away from it being like, I experienced something very creative that had a lot of ideas to throw around and had a good time with it.
I also hoovered the entire desert.
Same.
Mm-hmm. What about you? What have you played?
I've not played a huge amount this week, but I played a couple of small things.
Did you play all the small things?
I played some of the small things.
Okay.
Let's get this one out of the way nice and quick, 'cause this is a fairly simple one. I played through the Teal Mask DLC for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet.
Ooh.
This is the first of 2 DLCs for the game that have come out. It is set in a new area that's sort of loosely based on Japan. It's a new map. There's like 100-ish Pokemon that either weren't available in Scarlet and Violet yet from past generations, and a handful of new ones that makes up to about 100. Not a huge number of new Pokemon, but there's some really interesting ones in there. The DLC's been out for a week, so I don't feel too bad about lightly talking about some of these. There's a new form of Ursaluna, which is a special attacker rather than a normal attacker, and it has a special ability where normal type attacks can hit ghost Pokemon they're attacking, and that does some weird, interesting things for competitive options. I very much like the Toffee Apple Pokemon, and when you get a shiny, not only does the sort of like colour of the toffee on the toffee apple change, but the attack it has where it spits toffee at the enemy, the attack changes colour as well on the shiny.
Yay!
And I thought that was quite fun. It's not the lengthiest thing in the world, but it's, like, I think back to the first DLC for Sword and Shield. This feels longer and more contentful than that did. I'm not going to dig into the narrative that much, but I think they did some really neat stuff with making it seem like very early on, I thought I had a very solid handle on who characters were and what their motivations were and what was going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of thrown on its head in ways that I thought were really neat, and then inverted expectations in ways that set up DLC 2 to be kind of interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a nice excuse to go back and play more Pokemon, and there's a batch of Pokemon that I didn't have shiny from past generations that are now shiny huntable in this, so I'm going to be playing this for a while. What about you? You playing anything else this week?
I played some Final Girl, because I had a couple of afternoons on my own to sit down. I was like, get some board games out, and what better than a...
single-player horror movie one.
Indeed, what better than a solo game designed to be a solo game, as opposed to me playing 2 and 3-handers of Pandemic, which is something that I'm not adverse to. It's a good fun game, and you can very much play it on your own, but it's not fun. But yeah, Final Girl, it's a specifically designed solo experience, and you have there's some card drafting, there's hand management, not quite deck building, because you never really keep a deck very long. At most you can have 10 cards in your hand, and they will be things like lower the threat level, giving you more dice. You can randomly throw cards away to get extra time, and you are trying to rescue victims from various locations and deal with the killer. And the game ends one way or another. Either the final girl dies or the killer dies. And yeah, I think we've talked about it a little bit before. I played through a bunch of Season 2 stuff on my own. Then we played through most of Season... I think we actually played through all of Season 2 together.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or just about, at least.
I'm pretty sure we at least got through everything, because we started on... Oh, we might not have played the Alien one.
We did the Alien one, but I feel like
we did the Alien level, but I think we did it with the zombies instead of the actual alien.
Possibly, it might be that.
Because
I knew there was something I hadn't done.
Yeah, we did the vignette, but I don't think we did the actual alien killer.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about the Final Girl modular system is you get a feature film which has a killer, 2 final girls, and a location. And if you happen to own multiple feature film boxes, you can put any killer in any location, including the vignette, which never comes with a location. It's just like an extra little card box that you can do, and it's sort of compact thing. Yes, I played through Storybook Woods as the location against the Big Bad Wolf, which is the killer that comes in that box set. I think that one's called Once Upon a Full Moon. Mm-hmm. And I played as Gretel, which is one of the final girls that we hadn't unlocked the secret envelope for yet, because there's a whole thing of, in each box underneath the packaging, there is a little red envelope that you open when a particular final girl has basically survived any story or any scenario. And yeah, it's just like a nice little bonus thing, an extra item that you can throw in future games with that final girl. But beyond that, I will not spoil any of the contents of those envelopes. But yeah, it's been fun to play through that. It was interesting playing through that Storybook Woods, because we only played through it together. And that time, I feel like it played very differently.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we spent most of the game with it in hunting mode. It didn't actually kill anyone, nothing really came up. And in this one, I had almost immediately, I flipped over my first terror card and it was like, okay, increase the bloodlust twice, which immediately turns it from hunt mode into kill mode. So it was immediately just like running around attacking. And there are, like, by default, there's quite a lot of victims on that map anyway. There's less, it's one of the more concise areas. Like, it looks like there's a lot going on, but really, like, especially once the killer's bloodlust has got higher and its movement speed has got big.
It's very hard to put distance between you and the killer.
Yeah, because it can basically get to any position in, like, 5 movement, and it has, like, 8 movement by the top of its bloodlust. So, yeah, and it's already got, like, a lot of health. I got all 3 of its minor powers, so it had, like, even more health on top of it. But I managed to basically take it out with a pitchfork, despite not rescuing that many of the victims. And the second story I played was the final girl was Nancy. I played against Dr. Fright on Maple Lane, which is basically Nightmare on Elm Street. And the whole thing with that is periodically you might be told to fall asleep, or if you do a thing where, like, if you take the short rest action, you will just fall asleep. which means you've got to deal with the fact that now the killer can get to you. The killer if the killer doesn't attack, it can attack you from anywhere on the map because that's its power. And, like, you can attack it, but you still have to deal with getting into buildings and things. Because the Maple Lane scenario is the people who live here are, like, really wary of outsiders, so they won't just let you in their houses to do searching or whatever you might want to do. You have to deal with the fact that you're going to have to use special cards to try and convince people to let you in their houses, even when you're asleep, because the sleep mechanic is from the killer and the location is the getting into people's houses, which might make no sense, but it's the virtue of being able to mix those two up. But yeah, it was, I rescued, like, one person throughout the whole mission, because I kept being put back to sleep by terror cards. I was like, it's finally time for me to start powering up and getting some things, and maybe even flip my final go. No, okay, I guess I'm asleep again.
I need another nap.
There is a fascinating mechanic where you have these 4 boiler room cards, and you have to slide them, like, up, down, left, or right, in a way that reveals at least part of the card. The 4 cards each have, in one corner, the face of Dr. Fright, the killer. And if you reveal, when you're doing the slide, that part of the card that has his face on it, then you automatically take damage. Like, straight away, that's it. Just, you're going to get and damage. So you can work out the fact that he only appears in each position once. So, like, okay, well, I got attacked, like, bottom left. So the chances are if I slide up, it's probably not going to be bottom right. Like, there's only a 33% chance. And then you're starting to sort of play that game of, like, okay, well, I got at least one wrong, or I've done okay so far. What's the best way to slide this that suits the rules of the directions I can push it, and so forth. But yeah, it was a really fun experience, even though I didn't get to rescue anyone. I did absolutely fuck that legally distinct Freddy Krueger quite successfully. I think that one was just with a pocket knife. But yeah, it was a good fun experience, and yeah, I'm looking forward to playing yet more Final Girl and mixing and matching and so forth. What about you? You played anything else?
I've been playing F-Zero 99. Yeah.
It's a battle royale, but it's SNES F-Zero.
Yeah, Nintendo continues to be the primary innovator in what's a genre that's no one's making a battle royale, let's make it a battle royale. So this is the Super Nintendo F-Zero, but 99 races on a track. And it's an interesting game. I've been trying to wrap my head around how I feel about it, because I'm enjoying it quite a lot. But it was a bit overwhelming at first, because, like, the gist is, initially when you hear that pitch, you're like, cool, it's a racetrack, be first. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that.
Right.
Because, like, F-Zero has this whole mechanic where your boost meter is also your health. And you can boost, but if you get knocked into walls, that's going to take away from that same meter. Boosting inherently makes you more likely to explode. And as a result, because there's 99 people on the track, you are getting bounced around a lot.
Yeah.
And there is a real risk-reward that's not nearly as present in the original F-Zero of having to really, like, calculate when you are safe to boost and when you need to be just, like, pulling back and being cautious and just surviving the bumper cars chaos that is multiple cars. It's obviously a little riskier when you are in the thick of it with other cars, but the way they balance that is bumping into other cars, and you can do a sort of spin move to sort of do some extra bounce here, will get you these, fill up this little meter for you, that when it's full, you can just go to a track in the sky where you're not going to bash into anyone, and you can just sort of fly and take some shortcuts over the track for a bit. And this is sort of designed to be your, like, catch-up mechanic, so that, like, whoever gets into first place off the starting line isn't just first place the whole time.
Yeah.
It's the further back you are, the more people are bumping into each other, dropping these little orbs, the faster you can get that meter up, the faster you can regain ground. Every lap, It's got an equivalent of something a bit like Fortnite's like shrinking storm, where you've got to get closer and closer to the center to keep it alive. Every lap, you've got to finish in a higher position to be able to continue to the next lap. So, I think it's 80, 70, 60 or something like that, where it's like, you've got to get like 5 or so positions further ahead before the end of the next lap, away from the back. So it's not that hard to finish a round of F-Zero 99. Like, you don't have to be first place. If you're in like the top 70 or 80 people, you will complete the race and get like, hey, you won, you survived to the end, have some sort of rank up points and some rewards. But they also do something really nice to get over that battle royale thing of, if I'm not coming first, I didn't achieve anything. On every race, there are 4 randomly selected other players who are your rivals. And at the end of the race, if you did better than them, either you finished the final finish line in a higher position than them, or just avoided exploding for longer than them, you get specific like rank up points because you beat your rivals. So it's like, hey, coming first place, that's your like ultimate thing you're trying to go for, but really, if you beat the rivals, like maybe you came 25th, but you beat all 4 of your rivals, you are going to get probably more points for that than if you came like 3rd place, but like hadn't beat like 1st and 2nd room with your rivals. So it gives you something to aim for that isn't the very front of the pack to feel like you achieved, while giving you options to like catch up and shortcut back up if you're a bit further behind. It does lots of little things that reinforce how it feels nice and rewarding. As you play, you unlock these little tickets that you can use to do slightly more elaborate Grand Prix races. Basically, every X amount of time you've been playing like the main mode, you can go and do some like, here's 3 or 5 tracks maybe back to back. And again, even if you don't come first place, it'll be like, okay, to get through that first race, by the end of the final lap, you've got to be in the top 80. Okay, the next race, those 80 move forward, you've got to be in the top 60 at the end of this race. And like, you just have to not be in the last 20 to move on to the next bit of the Grand Prix, and like, that's a fun little mode. There's things like, they'll sometimes just split all 100 of you into 2 groups, and they'll be like, 50 versus 50. At the end, we tally up all of your positions and see which team of 50 collectively got better scores. It's silly, it's chaotic fun, it plays way better than I expected it to for something so high speed with so many moving characters. But yeah, it's a fun little gimmicky thing that I don't know how long I'll keep playing it for, but I'm really enjoying it at the moment. What about you? Have you played anything else this week?
That's pretty much it, really.
Let's see.
Been busy otherwise.
Yeah, I've not played much else, but let me just double check.
You played some Trombone Champ.
I played a little bit of Trombone Champ, because that game got ported to the Switch, and we've talked about Trombone Champ before. It's a silly and hard-to-control game about playing the trombone, and it's definitely just about playing the trombone, and definitely not a weird front for some surrealist Dark Souls-esque nonsense going on below the hood. Trombone Champ on Switch has... I haven't had a chance to try this yet, but there's 4-player multiplayer, which seems like it would be...
Is that like couch co-op or
couch? I don't know if it's online as well, but I know it's couch co-op. All of you playing the same song at the same time, and that seems like a beautiful cacophony waiting to happen. But the main thing that I wanted to check it out for was there's some new control schemes, and they are just as fiddly to control as the base game, because of course they are. You've got motion controls, either tilt or move the controller back and forth to do your trombone, or in my opinion, the more interesting one, finally a game that uses the IR camera on the right Joy-Con.
Yeah.
You can move your hand back and forth as if you're like moving the trombone up and down to control your pitch. Both that and the motion controls are equally overly precise to make you sound bad in the way that game do.
Excellent.
But I'm so glad to see a game go, oh yeah, that IR camera's a thing we can play with.
I'm glad, because that didn't get used for anything apart from...
It's 1-2 switch Labo, and then this. 1-2 switch Labo, this. So
I still haven't played 1-2 Switch.
This is the only third-party game I can think of that's ever used it.
In all the Switch's life, has anything else used the fucking HD Rumble?
Things have used it, probably.
Because the only thing I remember about the HD Rumble was, again, 1-2 Switch, was the whole, like, how many cubes are in... How many ice cubes are in the glass?
I think one of the Mario Party mini-games was, like, can you feel how many marbles are rolling around in a thing or something?
Maybe.
Might be something like that. But yeah, Trombone Champ, that's on Switch now. I think that's about it for me on things I've played.
Well then.
Time for this.
Yes, do come in. Do come in.
Okay.
Yes, come in. Look at my perfectly normal hallway. Enjoy my perfectly normal coffee table and definitely a telephone. Yeah. It's a lovely and perfectly normal hallway, isn't it? Anyway, come through to the lounge.
Okay, so this is all cake, right?
What?
I mean, it's clearly sticky and a little uneven.
No, it's ultra realistic and entirely possible.
None of this. The light's not hitting it like real object. I mean, it's impressive you made this much cake, but
it's all well, why don't you come through to the lounge? Come through to the lounge.
Okay.
Have a seat.
on the cake. I'll have a sit on the cake. Is it structurally sound enough for me to sit on?
No, it's just a normal city. Come, city down.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna kind of hover because I really don't want to get my trousers too sticky.
Oh, how about a nice cup of tea?
The liquid's not even moving.
It's what? It's moving. Have a nice sip of the definitely tea.
Okay. Oh, you got me.
It's cake. Oh, you never know because my realistic cakes are so realistic.
I really need to wash my hands. The texture's terrible.
Do you have a Steam account?
Yeah.
Do you struggle to know what to play?
Yeah.
Have you, added a bunch of games from bundles and stuff and maybe a few freebies that you've picked up from here and there across the internet and, now when you go and look at your Steam library, you're, completely overwhelmed because there's so many things in it and you don't really know what to play and then you end up playing nothing because you're so massively overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Take this personality quiz! It will connect to your Steam account and just move everything that you will absolutely never play into a hidden folder so that they don't overwhelm you when you're scrolling for things to play! Do it now.
Thanks! It got rid of about 80% of my library.
But now you'll play the things you got.
I mean...
So, what have you put in your eyes?
It's not been a super heavy watched week for things I'm going to talk about, support the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strikes. I did watch the Nintendo Direct and State of Play that happened this week.
Yes.
On exactly the same day as each other. Gaming news galore.
Busy day.
Yeah, usually in a week where there was a Nintendo Direct and a State of Play, you wouldn't expect Microsoft to be the biggest source of news gaming-wise of the week, but we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, Nintendo Direct was fun. F-Zero 99 was in there and that was neat. Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake is coming. It looks gorgeous. I really hope that the English language version of that game includes all of the honestly quite positive and fairly plot-integral trans content that exists in every other language of the GameCube version and just not English. We'll see about that. Princess Peach Showtime, I think it's called. Which looks to be like a Mario 64-esque go into the different worlds, but Princess Peach can transform into different outfits to gain different abilities. That looks kind of fun.
Yeah, and less wrong than Super Princess Peach.
It looks less like my superpower is that I have girl emotions.
Girl emotions?
I know, right? There was a game that I remember nothing about other than it was called Unicorn Overload, which is a great title for a game.
Mm-hmm.
State of Play, considerably less I remember. The main thing was that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is coming in, February? Which is way sooner than I thought.
Okay.
And it seems to be covering a much larger portion of Final Fantasy VII than I'd expected.
Yeah, I suppose after, like, leaving Midgard, things get a bit more expansive.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to have, like, a hard stop for a while.
Yeah.
So that looks gorgeous again, continues to look like very pretty Final Fantasy VII. The other thing I'll put here while I'm at it is I spent so much time today looking through all of the, for anyone who doesn't know, Microsoft accidentally uploaded a lot of, internal documents about,
Unredacted as well.
Yes. So, this was part of, like, them trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. They were supposed to upload some legal documents in redacted form to a website. They accidentally uploaded the unredacted versions, and now we know the next decade of Microsoft's plans for Xbox, which has been... That whole Activision Blizzard King acquisition has been a fascinating insight into, like, the behind-the-scenes of video games that you don't usually get to see, of, like, very candid conversations between CEOs.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting. There's one that keeps sticking in my head that was, I think it was Phil Spencer from Microsoft, actively trying to, like, downplay, like, trying to argue that whether it is or not, Microsoft should refrain from referring to the Nintendo Switch as a console, because they don't want to have to answer awkward questions about why they bring their games to Switch, but won't bring them to PlayStation, and they didn't want to get, like, pressed on that, of, like, so they were like, well, don't use the word console for Switch, pretend it's something distinct and different, and then we don't have to, justify we don't give PlayStation our games.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a lot of really wild conversations.
Yeah.
So yeah, in a week where there was a State of Play and a Nintendo Direct, by far the juiciest information came out of someone at Xbox pressed the wrong button.
Yep.
Oopsie.
So now we know about new consoles and a handheld and describing
new
Baldur's Gate
controllers.
3 as, what was it?
Oh yeah, not in positive terms, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be days before we dig through all of the best of this.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of YouTube breakdowns of some of the greatest hits.
Phil Spencer really, 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 really thinks one day he's going to buy Nintendo. He's definitely playing the long game. They're going to fail eventually.
I think they're just going to deliberately refuse now.
Yeah, it's probably not going to help relations. Yeah. It's not a good look when you talk about a hostile takeover, not in terms of that would be an unethical thing for us to do, but in terms of it would be a bad PR move and a bad optics move for us to do a hostile takeover.
But also, it's my greatest desire.
Yeah, it is my greatest desire. It'd be the highlight of my career to just purchase Nintendo. Yeah, if you're curious to see like what executives talk like when no one's supposed to be looking, fascinating deep dive.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. What about you? What have you looked at this week?
I can't really talk about any of it, because they won't pay their writers or their actors properly, or their VFX.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sadly it's not been a big watch thing. Like, I've watched a lot of TikTok, but, TikTok, See You Later, the Hell's Bells series is back after a summer break. I am glad that a creator who seems to be as big as See You Later is able to take some holiday every year.
Yeah.
And still come back and have, do big numbers. Because I
glad.
know algorithms generally for creators are just like, you didn't upload in the same hour as you did last week. We're going to show 5 people and that's it. Fuck you. So I'm glad that some creators are managing to do look after themselves in a sensible way rather than working themselves to death. Because I imagine it's really hard in a world where everybody wants to be a creator.
Yeah.
And creating has got easier than ever. I'm glad that people who are dedicated to their craft are still able to take some time and manage to put some things together.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. And people reading Reddit posts and memes and whatever else about, positive trans stuff.
Yeah.
That's been entertaining, mate.
The other thing I'll put, I guess, in the looked at section is I learned how to repair a Deal or No Deal fruit machine this week.
You did?
Yeah.
I learned what all of those keys do.
I learned basic fruit machine maintenance. I was presented with a gambling slot machine in a friend's basement that just sort of existed, and anytime you turned it on, an alarm started blaring. And there were multiple keys, and it was unclear what did what. But I worked out how to get the front off. I worked out how to lift the front up. I worked out where the buttons were, and how to the baffling system of events you have to do with one of the keys, where you've got to lean your whole body weight on a specific point and then slide a thing across while turning a key, and then a thing opens up.
It's like a puzzle box.
Indeed, and once I got inside, I was able to find out what the make and model of it was in order to then find a manual online. I'm slowly learning how do. So it was an interesting puzzle of, there are keys, we don't know what they do, we don't know what anything inside it does. Can you make it stop alarming and let me play the fruit machine?
But also, these are skeleton keys used by technicians, and you can just buy them online.
I mean, that has been interesting to learn about, the ease with which you could just purchase backup keys for certain machines and just open another one up. The only other thing I looked at was a music video, and I'll probably put that in listened, I think.
Okay.
So, I think that's it.
Well then.
Time for this.
Hey, Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you have a body that requires fuel in the form of nourishment?
I do. I really do. I have one of those human corporeal forms.
Well, are you tired from capitalism?
Oh, capitalism just, keeps happening. It just doesn't stop.
So let me get this straight. You have the capitalism happening at you.
I do, yeah.
And, so you're exhausted from all that capitalism.
Yeah, exhausted from all that capitalism.
And you have a need for fuel.
I do. These are all true facts.
What if those things were jammed together? Well, supereats.lol.net has the thing for you. They're not going to get fancy. They're not going to get, pre-portioned ingredients. They're not going to get weird and wonky things you've never tried. It's just food that they will bring you. That's it.
I'm tired from capitalism. They bring me food. I eat the food.
They eat the food.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Well, that's supereats.lol.net. Enter the code Q&PS 278. I'm saying.
Capitalize on being hungry.
Capitalize on delivery food, maybe.
Yeah.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, we got those documents sent off, yeah.
Yeah, I sent them,
Yep,
them
those highly classified documents we gotta submit.
When I talked about my, plans for industry domination.
Exactly. I know, the government needs to see the things, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You definitely sent the redacted version, right?
Yeah, I hit the little button with the brackets and where you just type redacted in uppercase at the beginning of the subject line, and it just redacts it all for you.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Yeah.
Did you double check that it worked?
Yeah, I did the brackets, the square brackets, not the curly ones, and the square brackets, and type redacted in the subject line.
I mean, it does work in that messaging program, so I guess that works.
Yeah.
Did you I don't mean to pry. Did you definitely double check it?
I definitely look here. It's in my sent items right there. It says, see, it's got the brackets redacted. That's it. Why are you scrolling? Stop scrolling. What?
It's all visible.
But I type redacted. Is it? But
yeah, but they can still read it though.
But
yeah.
How do I return an email?
I think it's a bit late for that.
We do unsend, right? We just do a recall.
Nope, people are downloading it already. Can we post oops April Fools? You'd be silly if you looked at it, because that means we April Fools'd you. I know
September seems like the perfect time, and it's the time you'd least expect it, right?
Exactly. September Fools, you, okay.
It's the biggest April Fool, therefore, April, May, June, July, August, September, Fools.
Anyone who looks
Ta-da.
at it is a scrub. Anyone who
Right.
looks at it is a scrub.
Yeah. Or it's like, if you help remove all copies of this from the internet, we'll give you a free skin for Call of Duty.
What if
And
we...
some Ionian gems.
Okay, what if we use AI to generate, 10,000 pages of fake ones of these, and,
Right.
flood them onto the page, so that it's impossible to find the real stuff in the fake?
Yeah, that should work. That is you're a genius. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be fine.
Yeah,
That'll be
what
fine.
can it
This will
take?
be
Like
fine,
5
right?
minutes? This is gonna be fine. This is gonna be fine. We
Yeah.
definitely haven't leaked the next 10 years of our plans to ruin this industry. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine. It's
It's gonna be fine.
gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
Oh God, I've seen our stocks. I'm firing myself immediately with pay. Lots of pay and a severance bonus.
It's fine. I'll hire you back with pay, and then we can say we fired you, but you're still here. It's fine.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
Well, let's start with the music video thing that I watched. So I recently talked about a track called Hi Ren by an artist called Ren.
Yeah.
Fantastic if intense track. I listened to / watched the video for more music from Ren, and in particular, I watched I guess it's 3 songs strung together to make one overarching story.
Okay.
Called The Tale of Jenny and Screech. And it is, again, fantastically performed, if a little heavy in subject matter. It is much like Hi Ren, it is all performed in single takes. Each music video is a single take 3-minute song done in one go, telling the stories of 3 distinct characters, Jenny, Screech, and I'll leave the other one because that's sort of a surprise that sort of happens as you go, about one very terrible night where a mugging happens and someone dies, and the fallout of that event and what led to that event. And much like Hi Ren, where it's sort of this person having an argument with themselves and aspects of themselves, Ren is fantastic as a performer at on a dime switching entire physicality and voice and presentation. And in this, he's playing multiple distinct characters and doing so very, very impressively. There's some really good use of the guitar as an instrument to do sound effects for things that are not a guitar.
Okay.
There is some really good, simple direction of music video. The third of the 3 songs walks through a venue during the music video, and it's a venue that has drastically different acoustics as he's walking through it. And there is some incredibly smart use of getting to an area with different acoustics just in time to really emphasize something and then move on. It's really impressive creative use of space. It's a heck of a journey, and I continue to be very impressed every time I dig into more of Ren's music. Very, very, very talented storytelling songwriter. So that is a heck of a thing. What about you? Have you listened to anything this week?
I finished my Magnus Archives re-listen.
Ooh!
All 200 episodes done.
How are you feeling?
You know what? I think I enjoy that ending way more on repeat listens than I did the first time.
Yeah?
And I think there is something about it that plays way better, pacing-wise, if you are listening to the whole thing in one go. But if you are listening week to week, I can understand how I might have been a little bit disappointed at the time. Especially given that the week before that was the sort of we're going to slow down a little bit, because we are careening to the end, and we really need to sort of have some very human conversations before the cosmic horror goes large.
Yeah.
But I think as like part of the whole, I think it works really well, and I am excited for Magnus Protocol stuff. Yeah, I'm glad I re-listened to it, and we've only got until January, I think, is the public premiere of the new season.
Gosh, yeah, it's rapidly approaching.
I think people who backed it are getting the premiere on Halloween, I believe.
Ooh.
But yeah, I'm. It's a good show, and if you haven't listened to it already, it's well worth it. Some good cosmic horror weirdness, told in a slightly found audio kind of way that starts off as mostly just an anthology of horror and slowly turns into this big meta drama going on with all these different characters and the avatars of fear, I think is probably the best way to describe it. But yeah, it's such a good show, and now that I have got that out of my system, I will go back to catching up on Dice Funk and Welcome to Night Vale. I'm determined not to drop off of Night Vale again this time. Got through a bit more. Weirdly, my podcasts have gone all over the place again recently, and I'm not sure what's happened. Like, I am so far behind on several things I really enjoy.
Life do that sometimes.
Life do sometimes. What about you? Have you listened to anything else?
Yeah, I listened to a couple of things I'll rattle through quickly.
Tell us.
Funny enough, you just mentioned the Magnus Archives. I went back and listened to an album called Once Upon a Time in Space by The Mechanisms.
Oh, that's the one with Johnny Sims.
Yeah, Jonathan Sims is, Johnny Sims is the sort of narrator of this concept album about a fairy tale war in space. It's a real eclectic mix of genres, but one that it keeps sort of circling back to is sort of like pirate shanty rock vibes. I like that album a lot. I think it does a lot of strong stuff with storytelling. Every now and then I get an urge to go back and re-listen to it. Other than that, I went to a rock night that happened at the weekend and listened to a bunch of classic, like, 2000s pop punk.
Hell yeah.
Skater Boy, Avril Lavigne, Na Na Na, My Chemical Romance.
Excellent.
The Anthem, Good Charlotte, American Idiot by Green Day, Dance Dance, Fall Out Boy. That vibe of stuff.
Good stuff.
It was a good selection of tunes.
Good night to shake it.
Right, yeah. But that's about it for me.
Well then.
Time for this. Right. Come in. So, right now, our monetization model is all out of whack.
Well, people buy a toaster, they receive the toaster,
and that's it.
and then, because we made them so shortly, in a few years' time, they come and they buy another toaster.
Indeed, but there's not much we can do beyond that, because, you look at printers, they can sell the ink,
And they're designed to break.
Exactly. You see, but toasters, there's not really much we can do. It's just sort of a heating element. So I'm here to question sort of how we can get more money out of consumers, because it's not fair that they buy the toaster and then never have to pay us anything again.
Well, what if we make like a smart toaster? You know how people are like getting more connected in the house, it's connected to the Wi-Fi. We'll have like firmware updates or something.
Oh, lovely. And if you run out of the latest firmware, your toaster stops working entirely.
Entirely, and we'll say you get a years of free updates for your toaster from the date of purchase, as long as you register, and we get to use a lot of your information. And obviously, we'll be gathering information for the Wi-Fi, like how firmly do they press the button down, and what settings they usually use. How about this? Depending, we could charge them for different settings. Like, it comes with like 9 for free. That's the hottest toaster setting, and that will completely toast it to an absolute crisp. But also, if, it works just fine, because you just have to press cancel, and then the toaster will pop up. So it's not like the toaster doesn't work at all. But if you want the feature of it automatically popping up at roughly a time that works for you, slightly too, not too short, slightly too long. Oh no, you burned it because you put it down a second time. But if you want that setting, you're going to have to pay a premium.
I mean, look, I think that's a wonderful idea, but I've been working on something that might be a little risque.
Whoa.
What if
Yes.
It is only a small fee, but we
Right.
charge a fee
Yes.
per time they use the toaster.
Oh, I like it.
A toaster retention fee, and it's only it's like a fraction of a penny or something, but
Oh, of course.
it sort of
no
adds
one
up.
might
and-
think a fraction of a penny.
Exactly, but at the end of the year, you will get an invoice saying you cooked, 96 pieces of toast. You owe us, 96 pence or something. It'll sort of all add up.
And what if in the firmware we did a whole thing where the pushing down mechanism got sort of deliberately looser and looser, and occasionally just turned itself on, and therefore it was automatically causing the customer to have to pay more fees in toasting charges.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Sounds fantastic. We're going to make so much toast money.
I'm just in it. I'm not here for crumbs.
I'm here to make that bread.
All that bread. I'm here to make it darker and more expensive.
Yes.
Are you confused by all of these subscription boxes?
Mm-hmm.
Unsure what kind of a subscription box might be right for you?
Uh-huh.
Well, try Subscription Box. Every period of your choice, we will send you a box from a list of subscription boxes that's a mystery. You might get perfumes, wine, board games, metal posters depicting obscure Brazilian knockoff consoles, flavoured cushions, crochet your own life-size birds of the world, taxidermy vegetables that have grown in rude shapes and have googly eyes added, STEM projects, flavours of the world candy boxes, discarded celebrity shoe of the month, retro mystery cable of the month, mystery Republican Party body pillow of the month, just some ramen noodle cakes loose in a box of the week, agitprop bulk sticker box, Nicolas Cage cushion of the day, mystery lump in a jar, or fairy tale and ear of the hour variety box. You can get all this and more at Subscription Box, where they'll just send you boxes. You're never gonna know what's in it. Try it today. Maybe. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
Right, Larry.
Right, Barry. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad, mate. You been up to much?
I've been alright, I've been mulling some stuff over, as you do.
What's got in your brain, mate?
Well, so I'm going to start with a thing that's hopefully not a controversial thing to say, which is that, accessibility accommodations for disabled people should not be means tested in terms of look, if you turn up somewhere and you need support for something, you shouldn't have to prove your disability to be able to get the help you need. You shouldn't have to,
that includes universal credit.
Exactly. You shouldn't have to be like, here's my documentation, let me show you my very personal medical information to get access to it, It is important to make sure that people can just go, I need this access and, no questions asked, provide it for them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's not controversial.
I would hope not.
But
Right.
something is controversial that's been going on recently, and it's been depressing how much it's been coming up, which is a lot of accessibility support is becoming harder to access for disabled people right now because a bunch of people who are not disabled, and I am not, I'm not being, this isn't me going, oh, I don't think they're disabled. No, people that we know full well are not disabled.
Right.
Sharing life hacks.
Oh, yeah. Is this like, a few months ago someone was talking about skipping lines at Disney or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Because, look, Disney is a good, look, for all the problems with them, they are a good example of a company that has a lot of good accessibility stuff in place. Some of which is for things like, hey, do you struggle to stand in lines? Virtual queuing. You can go be somewhere that isn't in a line and come back when the line would have finished.
Yeah.
But, they historically have never really sort of like demanded evidence for that. They're like, if you've come to us saying you need access needs, we will provide them to you. But now there's a bunch of people going, oh, here's a Disney hack. Pretend one of your people's got autism so you can not have to stand in the lines and, things like this. But some of them are more, I think, more insidious. Airports. Have you been hearing about stuff going on at airports?
No.
So a bunch of people have come up with a great life hack for airports, which is pretend that you need a wheelchair and you need assistance to get through security and to the plane, and you won't have to wait in the security line or stand around, and you'll get to be first to board the plane. Which is leading to multiple people who need
wheelchair access and like support getting through security and
They
need
don't have
priority
the,
access. They're being told like, that our entire airport is out of wheelchairs. We cannot offer you a wheelchair to get you to your flight.
Yeah, and I bet none of those people who are abusing that system for personal benefit, they're not having to deal with any of the I was left on a plane for 6 hours, because they couldn't find. In fact, maybe that is the reason so many stories of this I was left on a chair for an empty plane for 4 hours because they couldn't get me off because some fucking influencer dickhead who's like, I found a hack, is taking all the chairs that they have at the airport itself.
And this is a particularly insidious one. It's the reason why I bring this example up particularly is because, a lot of wheelchair users do not bring their own wheelchair to the airport if they can help it. If they're, say, an ambulatory wheelchair user who just needs to use the wheelchair some of the time, but not 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because airlines have such a high track record of damaging and destroying wheelchairs that it's like, look, it's not worth me bringing my own chair. I will walk as best I can and get into an airport chair the other end and get someone, in the destination country who can help loan me a chair or something, not being able to get access to chairs because people who are like, well, I'll get sped through this way, look at that. It's annoying because we have been battling for so long to try and turn the tide to be like, hey, more and more places, please don't be like, I need to see your evidence before you'll give people access support. Yeah. And that has been like, really good progress has been made there. Yeah. And in like the space of maybe a year, we are seeing really sharp rollbacks of like places like Disney going suddenly, okay, we do need to ask for documentation of things. Airlines having to go, can you prove that you need a wheelchair? Things that should not need to be asked, but are unfortunately becoming necessities because of people going, accessibility tools, there's a life hack I can squander. And it's a really difficult situation that, like, I don't know how we get around it, because ideally the solution should be tell people who are not disabled to just fuck off with this, and keep the system where people who are disabled do not have to prove their disability to access their needs. Yeah. But unfortunately, that system right now is not working, and we need to find a way to get back to that, because the progress that was happening there was wonderful.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's obviously a couple of things you can look at with that, regards to that. Obviously, you've got the having so much infrastructure that it isn't a problem overall.
Well, that's part of it, yeah.
And the other one is, if someone is trying to do this, you shame them.
Exactly. Like, look, I think part of the answer is, you see someone on social media bragging about how they're going to do this on their next trip despite not needing it. Maybe, I'm not one to be a narc, but I might go, hey, airline, you might want to pay attention to the fact that this person is abusing that system that other people need. It's like, tell people that are like this that they're being a piece of shit. Shame them for doing it, because fuck it. It's using up resources that are very limited for people who need them, who should not have to prove that they need them.
Absolutely. How's the young mate?
Yeah.
Good old mate.
Good old.
Right, I think I'm going to put the kettle on.
Oh, sounds lovely.
No.
So, Laura,
yeah,
you do things, right? And those things people can enjoy and people can get them. Where do?
You can find me pretty much everywhere at Laura K. Buzz. Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. Blue Sky, Mastodon, just Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. I have a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment, but things that are publicly facing. New episodes of Access Ability every Friday. This week's episode is about the switch to maybe having magnetic Joy-Cons as discovered in a patent, and some of the accessibility questions around that. So, check that out. Also, October 19th, that's rapidly approaching, Stories of Autistic Joy.
October, you say?
Yeah.
Not September.
Not September, October 19th. The 19th of October is that date.
So what you tell all the bookshops.
Look out for that in like a month. It's coming. It's definitely on its way.
And it's exciting.
Yeah.
I've got 2 copies because I wrote in it. So
Yeah, you
They
do.
sent me all the copies.
They sent me some copies and I gave you one and then they sent you copies. Because I forgot they were doing that.
Yeah.
What about you? Where are you at on the internet?
Where am I at on the internet? Well, I have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, JANEIAC. You can find the music I make, the t-shirts I design, you can find my socials and so forth. Although, I might need to update some of them, because I'm probably just going to leave X entirely, because fuck them. And who knows? And I think all the nice people have largely left now anyway. I just wish the rest of them would consolidate somewhere I could find them on Mastodon.
Right.
Because as much as I love it, it's been hard to track people down. But yeah. That's basically all of my things. Laura, when you sing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.